Welcome back. Today we're talking about motivation. It was a hot topic for a lot of people. Motivation feels good, but it doesn't always come when we need it, does it? How annoying. Don't you just wish motivation could hit you all the time when you absolutely need it? Wouldn't that make things so much easier? Unfortunately, that's not how it works. Most people think motivation looks something like this. You have an idea, you're all inspired, you have these immense feelings of, I'm gonna get something done, positivity. And in that moment, you really mean everything you say. You have this idea for a project, you have this idea for an app, a book, whatever it is, even something smaller. It doesn't have to be anything large. But the idea hits you, kind of like lightning, and in your mind you're like, yeah, I'm gonna do this thing. Could even be something like a workout, like, yeah, I'm actually motivated to go run today. I'm actually motivated to go to the gym today. We describe it as a feeling when in reality it's more of a process. It's more of a feedback loop in your brain powered by dopamine, obviously. I feel like everything in our life kind of revolves around dopamine. When we think about where motivation comes from, it's like, what am I going to get out of this? Oh, if I do this, then this is going to happen and it's going to feel so good. We're chasing a feeling instead of the actual process. And when you expect something good to happen, especially from, feeling motivated, it releases dopamine. And the release drives you to take action towards that reward system. So we imagine how good we're going to feel when the thing gets done. We're going to feel so accomplished. We're going to feel so good. That, in turn, drives the feeling of motivation. It's dopamine-driven anticipation, which leads to action, which leads to reward, which then leads to more dopamine. And then just the cycle will continue. This is only when you feel motivated. This isn't all the time. I don't know about you guys, but when I feel motivated, I feel like I could do anything. When I get a new idea for a cartoon, all I want to do is stop what I'm doing and work on it. Oh, hi. Going to sleep? Are you bored? But the tricky thing about motivation it doesn't always come when you need it. So sometimes I'll sit down to work after I get this amazing idea for a cartoon, and I won't be motivated anymore. I'll just be kind of sitting there waiting for it to strike again. Inevitably it does not, and I'm sitting there and the work has to get done somehow, but I'm not motivated anymore. I don't feel that burst of inspiration that I did initially. I don't feel that drive to go and do it. I don't feel that drive to make anything. And it feels like kind of a bummer because you're like, how does this make any sense? I was just so inspired to do it. Where is it? No. Why am I even doing this? Blah, blah, blah. And then cue all those questions, right? But the thing about that is just because you don't feel that same level of excitement when you're about to start something, it doesn't mean it's not going to come back. So you're sitting down to work and you're not that excited about it. Totally normal. And then you're remembering like, oh, well, I was inspired about this thing. Maybe it'll come back if I put my mind to it. Then you start to work a little bit. You start to get into the groove. And this is really where the ideas are flowing. This is my favorite place to be, the flow state. You're just so immersed in the project, you're not even thinking about the idea of being motivated. You're only thinking about the task at hand, and you're very much in the moment. Time and space kind of disappear for me when I'm working on something. Like right now, I'm not thinking about anything else. I'm only thinking about this. I'm very present. I'm not thinking about motivation to get started. Like I just set up my camera. I was like, I don't really feel like doing this, but it'll come to me. Inevitably I'm in that flow state just from taking that one action, just from getting started. And when I'm working on animations, which can take many hours, I've had animations take upwards of 40 hours to do, I'm not motivated for the majority of those 40 hours. But I do reach this flow state at some point. Usually within the first 10 to 15 minutes, I'm able to get into this flow state where I'm not thinking about anything else. And who needs motivation when you're in this flow state? So really all you have to do is get started. Be patient with yourself. You don't have to have motivation for everything that you do. Sure, it's nice when it happens, but you don't need it. So really, action often comes first. And for me, the reward is being in this flow state. And then later on, I remember how good it felt to be in that flow state, to be in that state of not thinking about anything else and just being fully present. To me, that's the reward itself, just being in the process. But of course, that this isn't as attractive when this is happening before you start anything. This feels a lot like, feels very stagnant. There's resistance happening, this like inertia, like you want to start, but you're like, I don't know. I want to feel that same motivation before I start. But waiting for motivation to strike is not going to get you anywhere. Just starting out within a few minutes, you're gonna reach this. And that's a good feeling, maybe even better than the initial motivation. And the more you do this, the less you will rely on motivation as your main source of energy to work on something. You won't really see motivation as a necessity to get things done. First, you have a cue. For example, whatever your goal is. For me, it'd be like, well, I should animate today. Give the pencil a little face.
I'm a pencil.
So that's our cue. Then you take action. This is when I will grab my stylus for my Wacom tablet. It doesn't feel like much, but the minute I'm holding the pen, I'm like, yeah, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna work on something today. And I tell myself, I'll just work on it for a little bit. Some action is better than nothing. Then you have reward. So for me, when I'm working on my animation and I see the result and I see that it's looking really good and I play it back for the first time, let's say I've been working on it for 2 hours and then I hit play and I like how it looks and the story's going really well and it's really funny, like that's the reward, you know, other than the flow state that I just talked about before. But the immediate reward is seeing the fruits of my labor and being happy with that. Then this turns into a memory, a happy memory. Gotta give everything a face, you know, that's just how I am. So I guess this could be considered a cycle of motivation and how it works. The more we look at it, it's less about motivation and more about action. But you don't need to feel motivated while doing it. The motivation comes from actually just doing it. Like it's so backwards. Because once you start, the dopamine does kick in. You get some of this while you're working on the project. And then your brain remembers, wow, that was actually a really good experience. I should do that again. I should take a small action again to get here, to get here, to get here. Stop chasing a feeling and start chasing action. This is where you want to be. Cost, benefit, and effort. So in our minds, we're always thinking about the effort versus the reward. It's like, is this juice worth the squeeze? I don't know why I thought of that, but let's draw some lemons here.
I'm a lemon.
Very zesty. Anyway, we ask ourselves basically, is the juice worth the squeeze? Is this thing that I want worth this much effort, whether it's work related, whether it's personal? When your friend invites you out, it's like, well, is it worth getting on the train, spending the money on a ticket, sitting there for 3 hours when I know I could be doing something else? All of those things add up to these decisions. So your brain is constantly doing this in the background when you assess any situation, really. If the reward that you're expecting is big enough and dopamine rises, then of course you act. If it seems worth it, then you act. And yes, the juice is worth the squeeze. If it feels too difficult or uncertain, then there's no juice worth squeezing. How sad for them. You know, some lemons just want to be squeezed. Dopamine is not really present and it leads to procrastination. You can check out my latest video on procrastination. I really get into that pretty heavily. So your brain is constantly oscillating between those two things. Is the juice worth the squeeze or not? And especially when it comes to very large decisions, you're not always going to want to put in all that effort, which is why I'm going to give him a little tiny lemon. When you make tasks smaller, little tiny small lemon. When you make tasks smaller, they are inevitably less effort. You are naturally more motivated to do them because it's not this giant daunting task looming over you. There's not all this pressure on it. And pressure equals this. I can't spell right now. And dopamine is this. So you are the decider of what juice is worth squeezing. This analogy I'm using is getting funnier by the second. But when you make tasks smaller, it lowers the perceived cost. And then the dopamine is like, cool, let's do it. Then you want to go to that show. You want to hang out with that person. You want to get that project done because the reward seems like it's worth it. And then the stakes aren't so high and then blah, blah, blah. So if you were writing a novel, well, this isn't really a novel. It's more of a, I don't know, if you're writing a book, right? How to exist. You're like, I'm going to write a book. And then, you have that initial feeling of motivation. This idea came to you this morning. And then you sit down to write it and you're like, well, I can't write a whole book right now because it's too much pressure. Then all you do, so you say, I'm going to write 1 chapter. That's not that much effort. The juice is totally worth the squeeze. The juice of your next great American novel or book on how to exist. Here we win by breaking things down in smaller actions. I want to talk more about the flow state. There are days where I don't want to do anything. Keep smudging by accident. Whoops. Whoa. There are days where I really don't want to do anything. I wake up, I have absolutely no motivation. I don't want to go to the gym. I don't want to work out. I don't even want to drink water. I don't even want to eat food. Like there are days where I'm just like, I can't today. But what I found is that if I tell myself, let's just film 1 video. Let's just animate 1 little thing. Let's animate something for 10 seconds. Water break. Oh, Stay hydrated, everyone. If I know I have to animate something that is over 30 seconds, I procrastinate it like crazy. It's not because animation itself is impossible for me. I'm really good at what I do, but I know how much effort goes into animating something over 30 seconds versus under 30 seconds, because something under 30 seconds takes me way less time, but anything over that just feels pretty insurmountable. But it's all mental. It's really not that different. It's like animating 2 of the 30-second animations. So really, it's all in my head. What helps me stay motivated, even on days where I don't want to do anything, is that I know that this exists. Oh my God, am I okay? The answer is yes. But because I know this exists, I've had enough experiences being in the flow state to know that it's like one of the best feelings in the whole world. In my mind, it's not even really a feeling, it's more of a state of being, because I can go from this, not wanting to do anything, just wanting to kind of do nothing all day. Also, I'm not the type of person that does nothing all day. I don't know why I beat myself up about that. I can go from this to this. Look how playful and fun I am. Look how everything's flowing so naturally. I'm not even trying, I'm just being. Let's go. Getting from this to this feels impossible when I'm in this state, but if I take bold action and I say, I'm gonna animate for an hour today. This version of me doesn't wanna do anything, but when I say I'm gonna do 1 hour, I only have to do it for an hour. The trick here is, I know that I'm not gonna do it for an hour, I'm gonna do it for at least 3. This is just to get me out of this state in a transition to this one. But once I'm in this state, I don't wanna stop. When what you're doing is too easy or simple, you're kind of bored. When it's too hard, it causes you anxiety and it makes you kind of freeze, at least for me. But when it's just right, then this happens. Then you feel the magic of what you're doing, and there's really no motivation required to get there. It's taking that first step. It's saying, hey, I'm gonna do this thing even though I don't feel motivated to do it. I don't wanna work on an animation for the next 5 hours, but actually I do, because when I get into it, then I love what I do. It's just sometimes getting started where there's the most resistance. And only you know what's too easy, too hard, or just right. Motivation myths. We have this idea that, people feel motivated 24/7, or that if you don't feel motivated to do something that you chose to do, then something's wrong with you. If you don't feel motivated to go to the gym every day, then, you're doing it wrong. Dopamine looks like this. What goes up must come down, right? You stop searching for motivation altogether, and you start allowing it to happen when it happens. So we're not going to be looking for it anymore. And instead, when it hits, you just enjoy it. Sure, it feels really good when motivation strikes. Ironically, when you search for it, it won't happen. But if you're just kind of going about your day and you're thinking of fun, creative ideas, or if you see someone running down the street doing the half marathon that you want to be doing, allow that to motivate you, but don't rely on its presence to give you all the motivation for your whole life. Don't rely on external sources. Be your own motivation just by existing. Allow it to happen within, and then you'll stop searching for it. So backwards, right? So, here are some practical takeaways from this video. Start tiny. Remember our tiny little lemon guy? Make the juice worth the squeeze by using a tiny little lemon. Get that tiny reward going. Tiny dopamine. It doesn't have to be this giant, you don't have to start a whole lemonade business just to get dopamine. Start really small. Start with 1 page of that great American novel. Start with 5 minutes when you're starting a new running routine. You don't have to do it all at once. Start small. Another big tip, track your progress visually. Have little reminders of how far you've come. Maybe you're really hard on yourself like me, and you're like, well, I haven't really done that much in the last few weeks. But if you start tracking your progress, you could even use my index card method, or you could use an app like Notion, Google Sheets, and start tracking, how many hours you're putting into things. Track your progress. See how far you've come, because odds are you've done a lot more than you thought. Another thing you could do too is start pairing hard things with a little reward as you go. For example, when I go running in the morning, I like to have a fun little beverage with me. And it's not always water. Sometimes I like coffee, or sometimes I like matcha. Just a little something. Well, present day, I'm on a caffeine-free journey. That's been about a month, but we could talk about that later. I know a lot of people drink caffeine. Let's say you keep snoozing your alarm, you keep missing your runs. But if you knew you had something to look forward to, like a little coffee, that could be the reward before you go for your run. So if you pair these two things together, it makes it a little bit more fun. And you're just naturally more motivated to do it. My last thing, this sounds really counterintuitive, but Allow yourself to do nothing sometimes. I know on this channel I talk about productivity a lot. We want to be productive all the time, at least I do, but there are going to be times where you just don't have it in you, and that's okay. Sometimes when you allow yourself to rest and not be motivated, that's good. You can allow yourself to recharge. You can allow yourself to rest, regain your strength. I think in modern times, we equate our value with how productive we can be and how motivated we can be. But that's really not the case. Your value is intrinsic. Your value is in who you are, regardless of how productive you are, regardless of how much motivation you feel at any given time. So if you really don't want to do something, ask yourself, do I not want to do it because I'm not motivated or because I really need the rest? Do nothing sometimes. And then ironically, that is when the motivation will find you again. I feel like it's like this naturally occurring thing sometimes. And then once you've done enough of nothing, you're like, okay, I'm ready to get back to work again. Because I cannot tell you how many times this has actually helped me when I've tried everything else. Well, I just can't seem to do it. Then I do a little bit of this, which is a little bit of nothing, and then boom, it finds me again. So all of these are good. So remember, got a little lemonade stand. The juice is worth the squeeze. Remember, you got this. You don't need to be motivated to do anything. That's the truth. Rely on yourself. You get to decide if the juice is worth the squeeze or if this is something that you truly don't want to do. It's all up to you. Anyway, hope you like this video. Feel free to check out my other ones. If you've been watching this long, thank you so much. I know this is a bit of a longer video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.